Hello, everyone. um, we've just I swear there is a hex put on this month's book club because we've just had some behind the scenes issues for this one. But I'm gonna start solo here. Um, there is a power outage where Jessen lives. So she is going to be watching along in the chat right now, and then um, the power is supposed to be starting back up soon, and then we'll have her hop on here. But y'all know that I know how to yak away and fill the space, so we'll definitely keep ourselves busy until then. Talking about this book, so I reread it last night because when we were picking a new book for this month, I wanted us to pick one that we had already read. And by we, I mean Crystal. And I had read an arc of this one, and I really, really loved it. Yep, Crystal's here. Beautiful. Big Sis is, well, if I can get it. Nope, that's Ash. That's cool. Crystal is watching us from home there. But I wanted to pick one we had already read. And so I had read an arc of this one, and I'd seen that Crystal was either in the process of reading this one or she had just finished it. So I picked this. And then Crystal isn't able to join today. So I asked Jessen to join because I knew she had read this book and loved it. And I was very excited to talk about it. And then, power issues happening. So I'll go through what everyone's reading right now, and then we'll get into the flow of it. And then I know you guys will be good and give lots of comments and things to discuss. And then when Jessen gets here, we'll hear her thoughts on this one. So I'm going to go back in the comments here. I was letting some people get some put in here because I saw Ruth. This is her first time joining. Ruth, that is so awesome. I'm so glad. I can't wait to hear what you thought of this one. We have Melissa here and Carrie's here. Excuse me. Monica's here. Hey, Cheryl. Hi, V. Let's see. Okay, so then I was asking in the chat what people are currently reading, just to kind of wait for everyone to get here before we start in on the book thoughts and everything. So, what was this? Who was on the Sophie Lark live chat and who went out right away and purchased Mr. Mr. CEO of Christo before they changed the cover and retitle it? Yeah, I've read that one. I read it when I did my deep dive for Sophie Lark last year. I read both that one and, well, no, I guess it was just that one because she also has one that's called Starlit, which was her first historical that she did, but there's not really romance in that one at all. CEO of Christo is a very different vibe from what she's done before. There is minimal romance and pretty much no sex in it at all. And one of the changes that Mr. Lark really told her was you got to amp up the sex in these books, which she has done, has she not? That's a great one. Melissa's reading Culty and the Longing of Lone Wolves. Love it. Longing of Lone Wolves I have on my Kindle. I am ready to go with that. Christina's reading Queen of Shadows. That is one of the 4 books I'm reading as well, Christina. So great choice there. I'm actually trying to pace myself with it because I don't want to finish it too early. The last month I finished Heir of Fire too fast. And then I forget stuff so quickly. So then it was time for the chat. And I'm like, I know there was lots of cool things I liked, but I can't remember them. Alana is reading Sweet Lullaby. You know, Jessen has me intrigued about that one. She really loved the hero in that book. Cheryl's reading Epoch, don't know how to say that, by Julianne. Love it. Stacy wants to start Space Junk by Cyril L. Hudson or Master of Crows. Nice. V is trying to find something new to read. Send any recs. Well, I mean, I love so many things. What did I read this last week that I've loved that I haven't done yet? I really love the Melanie Moreland series that I binged all 3 of them earlier this week. Loved it. Rev to the Max is the first one. It's a sexy one. And then what else did I really like? I honestly haven't had the best week, which was why I'm glad that I reread this last night because it put me in a good mood. I'm very excited to read Emerald Lily because I read The White Lily earlier this week because I'm finishing up Juliet Cross's Vampire Blood series, and the hero in that one is coming through with the Juliet goodness. Oh my gosh, he was so possessive and wonderful. Loved him. You're reading My Killer Vacation and Twisted Love. That's awesome. Okay, now it's jumping around. Hold on, comments. Come on. Oh boy, you guys were saying a lot of stuff and I just missed everything. Casanova, love it. Currently reading The Duke Who Didn't. Oh, that one is so cute. I am so put out that she hasn't continued that series because that book says it's book 1 in whatever series it's going to be, and she hasn't written any more, and I'm so sad. Dwelling, glad you caught the live. Well, nice. I love it. Justin was reading A Lady for a Duke right before this. Yeah, I've heard that's a change of pace. I am terrified yet intrigued about that book. I mean, I have a interesting relationship with Alexis Hall, his traditionally published stuff. Not reading anything. It's been busy. Okay, perfect, Candace. Here we go. I'm also reading the arc of A Matter of Temptation. That's my book that I just set down when I came over here. I also am reading Roe by Dylan Page, which was recommended to me by a viewer. And when I heard the blurb, I was like, oh my gosh, I want it. I'm not loving it though, because I mean, it said that it was like Transcendence, but it was kinkier and with breeding kink in it, and I didn't understand how full bore they were going to go with that, so I'm a little bit overwhelmed by it. Kindle romance reader is reading Akawar, love it. Tanya's reading Crazed, love it. I read that earlier this week too, just in time. Just finished The Perfect Crimes of Marion Hayes. Ooh, that one has a cool cover. I'm very interested in that. Currently reading Tattered. That is Devney Perry, right? Yes. You put it right after. Yep. You're hoping to start a Duke for Diana or something wilder. Book for romance, rereading Mariana Zapata. Oh, Mr. Lark is always right. I mean, out of context, he's completely right. I can't wait to see him when I go to San Antonio. Him and Sophie will be fun. Rereading Queen of Shadows. Love it. You just finished A Daring Pursuit. Wonderful. You read Rev to the Max. I hope you loved it. Okay, so what did I say I was reading? Yes, I'm reading A Matter of Temptation. Loving it. I'm actually literally 73% into it, so I'll finish that. I will also finish Roe. I'm almost done with it, but I just wanted to put it out of my head for now, so it's not doing great. I'm also reading A Lesson in Corruption by Gianna Darling. I am annotating that one, and then I'm doing Queen of Shadows. So there you go. There's the 4 books that I have going at once. But yeah, like I said, I have 6 pages of notes. So we'll start the way we always do. Let's start with our ratings, and I'll wait for everyone to throw their ratings up here. And I mean, mine has been out and about for quite a while because I read this book. I actually read this for the Historical Romance Readathon, and it was my saving grace during the readathon. I had a lot of books that were just okay for me, and this book, I don't know, it just really worked for me. And I was seeing a lot of you guys were liking it. I know some people maybe thought it was a little bit boring or whatever, and I have thoughts on that, but everyone's entitled to their opinions, of course. But for the most part, I think a lot of people like this one. But I really loved it the first time and gave it 5 stars. And then when I reread it and was literally like, I didn't even use my pretty markers. I was literally just, let me find it. I was literally just started like writing in pen because I had to like mark stuff up because Tristan had so many great things. But I noticed a lot of more things about Karis when I read it the second time. So this was a 5-star read. And the thing about it is like, it didn't quite boost into a 6-star book for me because I do need a little bit of extra special sauce for it to be 6 stars. And like my only other 6-star historical this year, that was a tough sentence to say, is Elisa Braden. And I was like comparing it to the feelings that I had in that 6-star. And I was like, hey, I can't quite put this at a 6-star. But apart from Elisa Braden, which is a independently published, this is my favorite traditionally published book so far this year, like historical wise. It just had so many things that are my personal like favorite sauce in it. So let's start going through, you guys. All right, all the way back up. We got a 5-star, 5-star, 4-star, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4. Oop, here we go. We got a 2. All right, we'll get into the things people don't like. A 4. Warda, I know I saw your comment and I am salty with you, Warda. I'm salty with you. No, just teasing. Charity, a 4. It's a 3. Oh, that's okay. Don't be sorry. So, Justin, you know that I got to pick on you in the best way because I saw your rating for this book and I literally did a little dance because, y'all, Justin is a critique master, whereas I'm just like, oh, I have hearts and butterflies. I just love it so much. So I love what you said. Lean, mean, and no drag. I completely agree. No miscommunications, no like awkward third act like breakup for these two. I loved it. So I love seeing that it was a 4.5 for you. Like, you make my heart happy. 5 stars. 4, love it. 4. Sex for science, and he subconsciously built her a house. But yes, April. Oh my gosh, I have notes. Wardy, you know I love you. We gotta have it. I love Karis and Tristan. I love the push and pull, the screen in the house, the animals. Love it. Ugh, they were so great. I had to read A Reckless Match first, so I've had a great week. Oh, that's good. See, Reckless Match, that one like didn't jive for me. Mostly because of the set, like the timeline of that book is what kind of held me back from loving that one as much because it was just very condensed time. Well, I know this one's kind of condensed, but I just feel like it, well, let's just be real. Their sexcapades were able to be more like drawn out and there was a very much a buildup. And again, I have some thoughts about this. So you studied architecture, so the architecture element boosted it. Yeah, I bet you got all the jokes and everything. Because he like dressed up as somebody. You enjoyed the first book better. Oh, I'm sorry. I just didn't like it. You gave it 3 stars. Well, I have some rebuttal to this. I have some wonderful rebuttal in so many notes. So this is going to be a gush fest. And I wish Jessen were here to toss it back with me. But yeah, too low of stakes. That's fair. I don't need it so angsty, though. So this was like, how do I like explain this in a succinct way for me? How do I even like, I don't know. I feel like historical authors in what they're writing this year, they're trying for too high of stakes. So I guess that would be my like rebuttal to that. I think that, and not that it needs to be a rebuttal. Like, I'm not that, but I mean like my saying to people who said like that this was boring or that was slow paced, like I can see why if others are liking historicals coming out this year or what other authors are doing, why those work so well for people. But those high stakes historicals have just been falling flat for me because I feel like there's so much plot going on and there's so much like resistance to being together, like so much that they end up hurting each other so much. Like they're because I love drama and I don't dislike angst, but I also like when I can read a book that it flows so well together that I didn't need there to be any higher stakes. Like, I like when there is external conflict. There's internal conflict, and we can get into that, but like, I love when there is external conflict to a relationship, and that the third act conflict is them like reacting to what someone else is doing, not like their feelings. And what I love about, which, sorry, I'm like skipping to the ending, but what I loved about the ending is that there is this like, you know, kerfuffle that's going on with Christopher Lowe being an idiot and getting into problems. And that means that the author can have that be the drama. And they both get to prove how they are useful to each other. They both get kind of like a shining moment. Tristan gets to be very like, I will rip your face off, which I love. And then there isn't time for them to have like a miscommunication, because he literally like spills his guts in the room in front of her brother, and her hesitation that she's feeling, which in another situation might have left her to like flee, you know, like I could totally have seen her like, if he'd said he wanted to marry her and she's like, you're just worried that I'm pregnant, I could see in another author like having her like run away, and then we have this like 2-month breakup where we wait to see whether she's pregnant or not. And like Tristan like lays it all down. He's like, nope, Griff, how about you leave the room? Like, I'm going to explain this to you like right now, because I know how I'm feeling, and I'm sorry how I felt before. So anyway, sorry, I just like dived right into how I was feeling. But I just loved that so many of the things that I just hate about miscommunications have happened in new releases lately. Like, book after book after book I've read that is like a new release is always a third act breakup where somebody says something hurtful or they white fang someone, and I'm just like so over it. And there was none of that happening in this for me. I probably like the first book better, but I still love this one. Definitely not high stakes, but they start out as frenemies. Yes, I have some great stuff to say about that. Well, I mean, I think it's great. Ola, I loved it, but it was that angsty was it that much of a rivalry, but it was very fun and light. So yeah, that's what I want to get into in just a second. We'll talk about it. Gave it 4 stars. I think if I had known it was low stakes and I needed to read it like that at the time, I would have loved it. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I did want her to confront her mother in the end. I needed more satisfaction in her telling her mother off. Is her mother around? Have I totally missed something? I thought it was just her and her brothers. What am I missing? What has her mother done wrong? I'm very confused by that. But I could totally been focused on other stuff. I like that Tristan or Karis brothers did not try to change her. So, okay, before I like read all these, because I know I skipped to the end because I was trying to make my point about why the stakes worked for me. Let's start with Karis and talk about what we love about her or dislike about her. Because again, upon my reread, there was a lot more about Karis that I picked up. So I think this is great about it. Where you say you loved that neither Tristan nor Karis's brothers tried to change her. They allowed her to dress the way she wanted and did not try to suppress her personality to fit society's expectations. I love that. I love that they didn't try to shame her at all. And I think part of it is that she does have her own like independent money and basically like her own little place to live and everything. And I don't know, I thought her brothers were amazing, which to me was part of the thing where like she's keeping her blackmail like a secret, less out of the fact that she's really worried about being ruined and more that she's embarrassed and feels shameful and she doesn't want to embarrass her brothers, which to me, if it had been a different reason she was keeping a secret, like she was afraid of her brothers, I would have like called bullshit on that because her brothers are very loving of her. So I like that. I need more of the aunts. Yes, I hope we get more of them. More of the aunts. Honestly, I loved A Daring Pursuit more because you read it after Annie's song. That is fair. That is a heavy-ass book. Tiff Talks Pages. Hey, Tiff. You love this one. Very happy there isn't a third act conflict in this one. Usually they feel too formulaic. Exactly. And especially because I have so much that I love about this. We're going to talk about Karis. Send me your thoughts about Karis, but I'm going to answer this. If there had been a third act conflict for this, it would have been totally out of miscommunication, because literally Karis, I wrote it down, when she says that she loves him in her own head, she admits that she already has feelings for him, like on page 108. I told y'all this is cursed, okay? This tonight is cursed. I don't know who put the voodoo curse on us, but somebody did. So, excuse me, well, I put this on my friggin' tripod. Give me a second. Ugh. I want to gush about this freaking book. Hold on. Literally doomed today. I don't know what's happening. All right. Okay. Man, that makes me sad though. That is my good computer and it has done it. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, so want to talk about Karis. Let me go back in these. Doing it on my phone is difficult. Okay, and Jessen just said she's a comin', which is good. I need someone to help direct all my energy. Love that she loved all the animals. Yes, she's so kind-hearted. I loved her relationship with her brothers and that they didn't care if she was ruined. They just wanted her to be happy. Yes, they're great. I loved how daring she was and confident. Love it. Brothers are great. I feel like Karis was trying to protect her brothers. Yes. It might be easy to judge her because she's paying the blackmailer, and it might seem weak, but she probably felt so ashamed she didn't want to champion for herself and felt like she probably deserves it. Yes. Yes. And okay, so that's something I wanted to comment on now that I'm just all flustered tonight. A few of the things that I picked up on about her. She blames herself so much for what happened. And, well, Tristan, of course, wants to lay all the blame at the other guy's feet, which is fair. He deserves a lot of the blame. He definitely does. He knew what he was doing with how he was wooing her. And isn't it true that the guys who always do that wooing are never good in bed? They just never are. She was like, it literally lasted less than a minute and like my life is ruined, which that sucks. But I think she is like punishing herself to a big degree. And I noticed a lot of things about her in this, where she has panic attacks from stress. She has panic attacks when gets like claustrophobic. She has deep trust issues now. And she has this facade of like a carefree vixen, but she's actually very ashamed and fearful of, you know, what she let herself get into. And so she's willing to continue to pay this guy off because she'd rather everyone like see her as a bit of a strumpet than it be like confirmed, I guess is what I would say. I don't know. Although one of the things that I did love that Tristan pushed back on, because so I literally had this conversation with my friend. Well, I have it all the time. I hate the magical hymen. I just hate it. I hate it. Because I don't know, like it just frustrates me so much in books. So I kind of like where Tristan is like, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could like fake that. I'm sure someone will want you enough that they won't even give a crap. I don't know. I hate that as like oh, I could never be with someone because if I really liked someone and then we have our wedding night, he's going to feel like I tricked him. And that is a plot of like so many historical romances where that is the case, is that she was ruined. And so he can tell, like his dick can just tell, like, oh, I just hate it so much. I just hate it so much. I think there wasn't a third act conflict because the hero was already all in from the start. So he didn't need to be convinced by any plot points to be with her. He already decided, and I like that. Yes. Yeah, he just didn't know it. I mean, I thought it was going to bother me more that he like planned to marry like what's her face? You know, he was like, "Well, I'm not courting her yet, but I'll probably is it like Lavinia was her name or something?" Of course it is. And he's like doesn't even realize how interested he is into her until he looks around his home and he's like, literally every choice that I made, I thought, what will Karis think? And again, we're supposed to be focusing on Karis now. I always like spin off into this, but um, I really agree with, I can't remember who said, I think Warda said like how um, confident and like bold that she was. And I actually don't know how confident she actually is. I think she hides a lot of that shame. But I think when she's with Tristan, he pulls out her like boldest tendencies because she knows that she's safe with him. Like there are different thoughts that she has right from the beginning. She isn't putting on a facade with him, like the joking and the teasing and the flirting, like that's not a facade when she's with Tristan because like he's her person. Like he even says it in later on when like Hal catches them together like the first time and he's like, I thought you guys were enemies. And he's like, well, a good enemy is hard to find. And I kind of look at Karis as my own personal Davies that I get to pick on. Like, that's how it is. And that kind of brings me around to what I think about this ruthless rivalry. Having read the first book, I definitely think that the first book plays that up more than it is in this one. And so I know that this gets touted as like enemies to lovers a lot, and that makes sense since the titles are like ruthless rivals. But for me, this one was definitely more like frenemies. Um, and like Tristan said, like you know, a good enemy is hard to find. Like I look at her as like my own like personal person to pick on. And any room that they enter, they're always looking for that person. Before anything romantic ever happens between them, when they enter a room, like they can feel the other person. And like I love that kind of sexual tension. I love it so much. Um okay, I don't even know like where I'm going. I'm kind of going through my notes for this, kind of vamping until Jessen gets here so we don't have to like redo a lot of stuff. So, oh yeah, now I'm just getting to the ones where you lost it. Okay, now I'm catching up. I was still way behind. Oh, yay, Rachel. I saw that you loved this one. Love it, love it. Oh my gosh. I think Hal had little penis syndrome. Love it. Yeah, I hate it. I hate magical hymen. That causes so many problems for us. I feel like a lot. Oh, sorry. Let me click on it. I feel like a lot of the Rune trope books have a heroine get pregnant. Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm definitely glad she wasn't pregnant with that jerk. The house scene was super romantic. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about Tristan. We can gush about Tristan. That's fine. Agree. I love the frenemies vibe. Yes. And I mean, I don't know if anyone's read the blurb for book three, which I believe is supposed to be Reese and Francis, I think is going to be book three. And that one I think is going to have a much more antagonistic vibe because you know, they were flirting in this one, but it looks like in that book that something goes wrong that like causes them to miss out on that opportunity. So we'll see. But I heard rivals. but hearing they played together as kids a lot more makes me think it was more the parents. Yeah. Well, and it's even further back than that too, right? Because isn't in the first one, the whole like rivalry was like their great grandparents and like they have to meet at that certain spot to like keep it going, you know? I don't know. So his architectural choices and when she talks about the importance of balance, I like how there were so many metaphors in this book. Yes, yeah. And I really loved how, I don't know, she brings out like the gentleness and the like, not just the gentleness. She brings out certain aspects of like softness to him, but also his like, er, possessive stuff too. Because I definitely was clocking as I was rereading it, all the different times that she would notice like a crack, because a lot of the joking she does with him is because she feels like he's too serious. Um, and we realize that he kind of slowly starts to show those parts just to her. And I love at one part where she's like, I'm going to make it my mission to like see him smile. And when he like smiles and laughs for her, it just like lights her up inside. So, okay, let's kind of talk about like the inciting incident of like what starts their arrangement where he has like the he won the carriage in the game and so he gets in the carriage and she's in there and it's an interesting scene because he is throwing like digs at her and they'd be digs that oh there she is, hold on, there we go.
Yay!
I
I made it.
You did. I'm literally on my phone, so
You're on your phone? I missed the last couple minutes of the chat because I was in it. I was watching it.
yeah, my
Um,
computer froze and I had to switch to my phone, so
problems on problems on problems.
this is the cursed book club of the month. Like it just is.
No.
It's fine. It's fine. But let me catch you up. We'll just start with,
Yeah, catch me up.
well, yeah, I'm kind of just literally babbling everywhere because I loved it so much. And so I was
Hmm.
trying to convince people why the low stakes were like okay in this one because
Okay,
I
yeah.
love external conflict so much. And particularly the new releases of historicals in the last couple years have tried to be too big for me. Like they've tried to have like really huge stakes and like
Yeah.
people's lives on the line. And that's not bad. That's absolutely not bad. But
No.
there's always has to be a third act breakup and there always has to be like, very dramatic like break. And I just liked that because of the third act conflict in this one, there's no time for miscommunication. Like where it would normally be a miscommunication about their feelings for each other, Tristan is like, nope, we're not leaving this room until you listen to me. He's like, nope, it's all happening.
I
So,
agree. I think that that's
but
definitely a problem that I have as well too. Like I just prefer external conflict than I do,
yes.
the third act conflict surrounding miscommunication. I mean, I've talked about that a lot of times. I just don't love miscommunication between my couples being like, "Oh no, you really don't love me." I hate that. I hate that so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
For it to be like where you're going to leave off this couple and then all of a sudden they're going to have to resolve that within the last couple of
Yeah.
chapters. Like I didn't like that. So I agree. Now I will say, so this is only the second or third, I can't remember if I
Yeah.
read two
Yeah. What was your
books
rating for
by
this
Kate
one?
Bateman. This one I gave 4.5 stars. I gave 4.5 stars to this book. It is my favorite Kate Bateman that I have read so far
Out
because
of
the
two.
other ones I did not like. I did not like the other books that
Yeah.
I read by Kate Bateman. So
Yep.
this one, I really had I don't want to say I had low expectations, but I didn't have very many expectations going into this book.
Yes.
So when I started reading it, I was just kind of like, oh, I really like this heroine. She's a lot different. She's not, she's not your typical debutante. She goes in
Hmm.
to the season. She's wearing very kind of risque clothes. So I really liked her attitude. And I liked that she wasn't a virgin as well. So there was just a lot with the story that surprised me because I did not read the first book in the series. I was not familiar with the family and it just like I went in completely blind and I really enjoyed it. I was like there for the ride. That's
Yep.
my feelings toward the book. I was here for the ride. I was like it was very enjoyable and I really liked it. So
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
how I felt about it.
Yeah. No, I was the same. I had super low expectations, which I think really helped. And it was obviously this was before you got here, but so Crystal gave this one 3 stars, and one of the things she said is like that if she had known it was low stakes going in, she probably would have had a more favorable thing too. Whereas like I didn't have any
I feel that.
expectations. You're right. And I mean also she's read some really great historicals lately. So there's that
It's
too. I
hard
had the
when you have
opposite.
like
Yeah.
it's hard when you have really great historical romances. You read it like right before
Yes.
something like this. I think I was in the mood for something like this when
Yes.
I picked it up.
Yeah.
I had read a couple of books where it wasn't like that
Hmm.
great, and I
Same.
picked this one up and I was like, oh, this is totally different from what I'm reading, and I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. So I picked this book up at the right time, I would
Yep.
say.
No,
Because
same.
like
Like
I said, Kate
I
Bateman
had
has not
four
been an
duds.
author that I love,
I
so
had 4 duds in a row. And I was literally
yeah.
like, well, I have to get this arc read, so I'm just gonna do it. It was my last book for the readathon, and then I was like, oh, I really love this. Um, but I
Yeah.
think too, well, because we all know it. We all know the anxiety when we're at like 70 or 80% and nothing bad has happened. They're just
You
fucking
know something's
away.
gonna drop.
Right. They're
Something's
just,
gonna happen.
yeah, they're screwing away. It's going great. And then you're like anxious about what's going to happen. And so for me, where it was like, oh, there's a bear, or oh, this guy's the bad guy, like, great. So that just made it like easier for me because all of a sudden I was like, wow, there's only like 5% left. They're not going to break up. This is great. Like, I was
Yeah.
so happy.
I mean, sometimes it's the simple things. It's the simple things that
Yeah.
really just make your enjoyment of the book that much
Hmm.
more than it maybe could have been with
Yeah.
another author, or if you had higher expectations. And I felt like this was just like a really sweet love story. I enjoyed a lot of the elements. I enjoyed a lot of like the animal elements. I love that she was such an animal lover. I love the unconventional animals that she kind of rescued and adopted and stuff. Like it was just like those little types of things that really endeared me to the characters.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I definitely like I don't know if I mean, it had a teach me element to it,
Yeah.
because she
Hold
had a
on.
bad
Let's
first
stop now. Stop,
experience.
stop, stop,
No,
stop.
that's good. Okay.
Because no, now that you're here, now I want to go through stuff. Like now you just
Okay.
you're listing all the things you love, and I'm like, it's still book club.
Okay.
We're gonna go through them. So right when you were getting here, I went because we said like what we liked about each like character. Um,
Hmm.
but then I wanted to start with like where their arrangement starts, like the incident in the
Okay.
carriage,
Hmm.
and just how like he kind of is like throwing digs at her about this because he's jealous that she has an
Yeah.
arrangement with this total idiot.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned to the things I was mentioning about Karis is that when I reread this, I very much noticed that she is literally riddled with anxiety and panic attacks. She is having claustrophobic moments. She's like riddled with like shame and like self hatred. Like she's feeling all of these things.
Yeah,
So
which is so interesting
yeah.
because she's outwardly pretty confident. She's
Hmm.
outwardly trying to put on a show that she's just like she doesn't have a care in the world, that she doesn't care about people's opinions about her, and she's willing to take risks. But I do feel like internally, she's covering up a lot of that, anxiety that she
Yeah.
truly does have, like the stuff that she's hiding and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
like Karis as a character, definitely.
yes. Yeah, I really do. And so what is so interesting about that like carriage scene is that she normally has all these barbs like ready to go for Tristan because he's her sparring partner. He's her Montgomery, she's his Davis. They're the ones that pick on each other. And when he catches her in this like weak moment, she has nothing to say. And he's very much just like showing his hand a little bit of like that he's jealous, but all she's feeling is like
Yeah, I
judged.
mean, it was so unexpected for her. I mean, she's been in this pattern with she's been blackmailed for a while now, and this has been her arrangement, and all of a sudden Tristan, the person who she's been sparring with, so appears in the carriage. And like I will say, when he was in like the card scene and the guy like bet his carriage, I was just like, oh, he's gonna lose the carriage. And when
Yep.
she was meeting him in the carriage, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like I was
Yeah.
excited about this scenario because it was like it forces her to acknowledge that something was going on. And
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping that it wasn't going to be a big mystery. Like that was my
Right.
care. I didn't, like I said, no expectations going into the book, but once I figured out the plot, I was like, I don't want it to be a long drawn out thing that she is being blackmailed. I want him to be aware of the situation.
Yeah.
And I like that he was aware of the situation,
Yeah.
like I was
Well,
just like,
he finds out in the next scene, because then there's
yeah.
the carriage and she's like, well, I'm going to sneak out. She just can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
there's the opera where he
Mm-hmm.
overhears it. And now he's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, he's blackmailing you. And she's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
No. And he's like, no, you're going to tell me.
I
Like, this isn't a
I
joke.
saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think too, to kind of like, she finally is like getting herself back. And so he's like flirting with her and she doesn't know how to handle this level of like sexual innuendo for him. So she's like, well, I dare you, or no, that doesn't happen
I
in this one. Sorry, that happens
I
when they get back to Wales, but
but I like how
she figures it all out.
like you said, since their families have been such rivals, there's been kind of like a status quo when it came between the interactions between the two. And now that he knows like that secret about her, about she's being blackmailed and stuff, it kind of puts her on the back foot. So it feels like he has a little bit of the upper hand when it comes to interactions.
Mm-hmm.
So he's being flirty and she's not expecting it from him. And so I really enjoyed that as well. And I do enjoy like a confident character who is, pretty, like it takes a lot to unsettle them. I like when they do get unsettled. So I did like that about Karis. Like she's usually outwardly very confident, but when
Yeah.
Tristan knows this about her, it shakes her up a little bit. And I don't know, it just like makes me, I love it because it's like they have their own little secret. He's the only one that
Yeah.
knows that this is happening to her. And I like
Yeah.
that it's like very insular between them.
I love that everything was out in the open early, which made for their tension to be dealt with and not her secret. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Same
It
thing.
was
Like
more about their tension.
as soon as he finds out in the next scene, I was like, oh, thank goodness. So okay, so that happens, but then they go back to Wales and he comes upon her while she's like feeding her animals. And that's when he again is kind of like, because that's when she says that she doesn't want to get married, or if she does marry, she will marry Ellington, who is a homosexual, which I did make a note. I really don't always love the trope of a homosexual man needing to marry someone, which I know definitely was a real thing, but I feel like it's always very convenient when they're used and not as like a full character. They're used as like a convenience step.
Right.
But anyway, that's okay. And that's when Tristan is like, you really would do that? And she's like, well, I mean, it wasn't that great. And he's like, wait, like, how much did you do this with him? And she's like, the one time. And he's like, the one time? Like, you can't even be good at it after like one time. And so she's like, well, prove it. And I love that he doesn't even think about it for like 10 seconds. He's like, yep, let's do it.
Yeah. I also really like
about it.
When we have Karis's point of view, when she does decide to sleep. What is the guy's name? Because I already forgot his name. Sorry, I didn't reread it for
No, it's okay.
the
Tristan?
live show, but no, not Tristan. The one that Christopher. I was like, I wanted to say Christian. I was like, I didn't feel like that was right. Okay, so Christopher, I like that when she was having like that flashback moment, thinking about the time that she did, have sex with him and stuff. She was honestly kind of really excited. She was intrigued by the idea of sex.
Yeah.
Like she was all for it. She was just like, man, people say it's really great. And this is my opportunity. She was feeling really adventurous. And I really felt for her that it was such a disappointment.
Like, this wasn't a trauma.
I didn't want it to be a traumatizing experience for her because
we've had
blackmailed, being blackmailed for that amount of time, that was already the traumatizing experience. So I didn't want it to be like trying to overcome like this harrowing experience. I'm glad that it was a choice, but it was disappointing for her. But I also love like Tristan just being like, you only slept with him the once, like, and now you've written off sex. Like, please let me show you.
Right.
Let me show you what it could be like. It's like,
so
I love that.
So once their affair starts, I of course was tracking it this time around. And we have this very interesting escalation where we literally hit all the bases on the way. Like literally each interaction is a different base. And I would love to ask Kate Bateman if she did that on purpose. Like he's literally easing her into everything.
The boxes, yeah.
Yeah, and we start to get to see the dirty talk that Kristen had. Now I'm mixing the words up. Kristen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as Christopher / Tristan.
Yeah, so they have a couple rendezvous, and then Christopher ends up at the house party, which is super sad that he has to be there.
Yeah.
But then
Captain.
for their next rendezvous, he takes her to his house. That's me.
Yeah. I love that as well. Like nobody's really been to his house. Like this has been his,
Yeah,
baby, his project that he has, crafted for himself and a little bit with her in mind.
yeah,
I love when we have stuff like this, like, oh, I'm building this or maybe I'm decorating this and you're building it or decorating it in mind of who you want to be with, but you've never outwardly admitted to yourself that you wanted to be with them. Like I love that
yeah,
kind of thing. Like those little I love it. I love whenever he shows her the house.
yeah.
That's just really lovely.
Well, and when let's see if I thought that I marked it because I was literally marking everything. But there's the scene where he thinks he's like, each new thing I added, I would Karis like it? And
Yeah.
so even though he's telling, he's still saying like, oh, well, yeah, I might marry this person, but like, I'm not courting her. Like, I'm not cheating on her. There hasn't been any understanding. And if there were to be, like, it would be after we were done with this. But what I loved about it and why I'm happy there was no misunderstanding because I would have been pissed. They both start realizing that they love the other person around like 130, 40 pages in. Like, they already are like, they're the person I'm always thinking of. When I walk in a
Yeah,
room,
it's
I
like
can
that
feel them
secret
in there.
mutual pining that they're not ready to acknowledge too on the nose. Like it's
Yeah,
in the background, but they don't want to think about it too much. It's like they're aware, but they're afraid, so they don't want to acknowledge it that much. And I really like that. I think it
yeah.
works.
Yes. Tiffany, I noticed this. He aims to show her every base. Yep. It was thoughtful and sensual. It absolutely was. And like
There's
the
no rush. And
number,
why would you want to rush it for a person who had a bad first experience? Like you want to make sure that they're following experiences, especially if you want to impress them. Like if this is the love of your life, like you don't want to like fail. Be like, oh, well, you just confirmed that sex is not all that great. Like I love taking the time to be like, look, we don't have to hit it all on this night. I
yeah,
love the teasingness of it too. Just be
yeah,
like, this is all we're going to accomplish this night, and you're gonna have to
yeah,
wait for it.
yeah.
I do like that.
So once we finally got to this scene too, though, like the quotes that I highlighted, okay, we're gonna listen to a couple of these. Okay, we're gonna listen to them.
Read them.
So
Read them.
first, he's taking off her clothes and she's like, I'm not really thin or willowy. And he's like, no, you're not. You're delicious. And I'm a starving man who's ready for a feast. That's the first thing he says. Okay.
Gotta love a hungry man. I
Oh my God.
mean,
Then he says, I've imagined this 1,000 times. He totally just laid his cards out. Like he literally says it.
yeah, like
I've imagined this
this
1,000
isn't a
times.
new thing for me. Like
Yeah.
I've thought about you. Like this has been on my mind.
It's so
Yeah, I
romantic.
agree.
Then he says, your body is beautiful, Karis, like a church or a temple. And she's like, why are you comparing me to architecture? I'm going to smack you. And he's like, no, it's a place of worship. Shut up. Shut
About to
up.
worship at your altar. Be prepared.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
That's
love it.
like Pam Godwin level of dialogue. I'm just telling y'all.
Mhm.
That's something she would
Which
say.
is hilarious because I'm currently in the middle
I
of Pam Godwin and it's
I
getting hot and steamy, and I'm like,
definitely do that. The sex scenes in this were nothing to sneeze at, okay? It was great.
Mhm.
So that first like full sex scene, y'all, I checked. It was 25 pages long in a book that's only 311 pages. So
dedicate that time.
it
It
was
does
great.
not have to be, I enjoy when an author takes their time for a sex scene because it's not that I want multiple sex scenes. I want to feel the emotion during the sex scene, and I feel like if an author allows it room to breathe, I enjoy that so much. Hold on, I want to read that.
She dropped her phone on her face.
Oh,
Definitely done that. Definitely done that. Tristan is so sweet. He totally is.
yes,
So
yes.
then I wonder if anyone else caught this. So then they are like, they don't really have a long time to snuggle after this first one. It's true. But she is reflecting on that he's not cold and unfeeling like she thought she was. In fact, he reminds her of like a man from a fairy tale. And guess what fairy tale she compares them to? I'll wait. Did anyone know?
I don't remember, so no, I'm not the person.
Because it's literally my personal favorite fairy tale. East of the Sun and West of the Moon.
I was about to say it has to be something
She
that
said he was
has
like a,
been like Beauty and the
he was
Beast.
like, she was like, she said, hold on, I literally have the page. Let me not butcher it because it was fucking gorgeous. It was on page
Is East of
214.
the Sun, West of the Moon a type of Beauty and the Beast-ish trope?
Yes, but it's Norwegian.
Okay.
And
No,
it's
but
actually what
remember?
ACOTAR is based off of.
Okay, that's
Yes.
what I remember. I
Yeah.
was like, I know. Okay.
ACOTAR is based off of that and
Yeah.
Tamlin and that.
I'm gonna have to go read those.
Beauty and the Beast myths literally popped up simultaneously in different places, like without
Yeah.
connection, because it's a story that we know. Okay, so this was the quote that she was thinking about him. She had called them like Cupid and Psyche because they were meeting in the dark, but she said this, like they were more like the Norwegian fairy tale East of the Sun, West of the Moon, in which a handsome prince was cursed to appear as a bear in the daytime, but only took the form of a man to visit his wife in the dark. So she was commenting on like him being stern and foreboding in the daytime, but at night he's like soft and special for her.
I think that that's what I love about like a grumpy sunshine pairing, because usually when you have like the grump is grumpy outwardly with everyone else, but so soft with their person. And that's what I love about a grumpy sunshine, is because the grump is never really truly grumpy with
Right.
their person.
Mhm.
They're soft and gooey and they have vulnerability. And that's what I love. So yeah. Oh my God. I love that. Okay. I'm going to have to go read.
Yeah.
Them.
Well, what? You have to go to the bathroom?
No, I said I'm going to have to go read.
I literally thought you just said I have to go pee.
Yeah, bye.
And I was like, really, Jessen?
I'm checking out.
Just kidding.
Be alone for a second. No, I
yeah,
don't need to go
thanks.
anywhere. No,
Nope,
I have to go
never
read
mind.
The East of the Sun, West of the Moon.
Yes, yeah, it's great.
In full, you know?
I forgot about what Tiffany said too, like, because then he goes on to compare her body parts to like architecture. All of her curves and everything is really great. It's really great. But then like they are joking together afterwards, which is hilarious, because he was like, if that wasn't better than your first time, I'll give up sex forever. And then she was like, it was, though. It was 100 times better. And he was like, if I ever decide to become a male tart, I'll use the quote, Tristan Montgomery, 100 times better than your previous love. He's so funny too. I love it.
I love the playfulness of it too. When you know somebody that long as well, I feel like that lends itself to like a really great relationship too. So I love that.
I just love it. Yeah.
Because they weren't really like enemies. They were like, you know.
See, we said this before you came on. They were frenemies to lovers.
Yes. It wasn't like truly enemies. It was just kind of like they had that little antagonistic relationship, but they didn't really hate each other. It was just.
Well, Tristan says it to Christopher when he's being an asshole about it. He's like, I need to speak to her alone. And he's like, no, you don't. I'm looking out for her. And he's like, well, why do you want to look out for her? And he's like, well, she's my own personal Davies that I pick on. And so I'm looking out for her. Like, that's what we do. And some comments like before, a lot of them have to do with like, it was the family that was the rivalry. Like it was set up by their ancestors that they needed to. They played together as kids. Like they were friends. Mm-hmm. They were just supposed to be like, they were supposed to be enemies in like society. I
like
and stuff.
you, but oh no, once I'm old enough to realize that our families are, you know, rivals. Oh, now I can't, you know, like you anymore. Yeah.
Yep. So then we find out about Victoria, who she's in love with someone, and Christopher is actually a horrible, no good dude, which we already knew.
I kind of really love that for her. I was just kind of like, yes, you get yours on the side.
Christopher gets deported and she gets to be with her lover. And then
love that.
Prudence and Constance, they like poisoned someone. It's great. The aunts, everyone was loving on the aunts. So cute. The rivalry was a facade. Yes, it is, April. Yep. Absolutely. I don't think those discussions are normal in most historical. I mean, that's fair. This one, I wouldn't say this one is totally perfect, but
rivalry?
It didn't bother me. What?
I said, what discussions are not normal? Sorry, I must have missed a
probably
comment.
The jokes that I was talking about, like when he makes the jokes and stuff. And I was like, the trust discussion's important. Yes, there was lots of great lots of great consent through the whole thing too. Like they're naked and he's like, okay, are you sure still? Because we could stop now. That's fine. And I was like, love it so much. Okay.
I love especially like the possessive heroes, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like so powerful when you're in the midst of like seducing them, and it's just kind
Mhm.
of like, I will stop at any point if you feel uncomfortable, if you're not
yes.
in, but you know, like they're gonna say yes. But it's like the fact that they asked makes you more comfortable, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of like, yes, do
So
with me what you
sexy.
will.
It's so sexy. Let's see what people are saying. I wonder if we'll get her later. I don't know. I think she's with her lover, so probably good. We have other siblings that we have to do, so who knows though. I love Victoria. Kate should have made Karis and Victoria chatty. Fair
Okay,
enough. I don't think she
Kate
needs to
could have
have depth.
made Victoria catty.
She
The
definitely
author
could have.
could have made it, but she didn't, which I
That was
love.
a
I
great
agree.
surprise. I love how they enjoyed needling each other. It showed how much they knew about each other. Yes.
Yeah.
Only they could
It's
get
that
under each other's skin.
intimacy. It's that intimacy between them.
Well, that she knows which architect he's dressed up as, it lets you know
Mhm.
that she's done a little research to know about his career. Because she
Yeah.
knows which person he's dressed up as at the ball.
Like he's very obscure and she's like, I
Yeah.
know who you are.
Oh, the comment about birth control. Oh, when did I talk about birth control?
Oh. Hold on, I'm scrolling. Oh, she had an earlier comment that said open
Oh,
discussion.
sorry,
Yeah,
Ruth.
that one.
I love that he had the open discussion with her before sex about ways to decrease it. Yes. She was embarrassed about having the discussion, but he just laid it out. Yes, I love that. That is definitely him looking out for her and not, well, because what happens a lot too in historicals is that like the guy will just do that,
That's mine.
which isn't a horrible thing, but he will just like pull
Over
out
there.
and not explain what that means or like why he's doing that. And then that can sometimes make the woman feel like bad when really it's like, you know. So
Yeah, it's
you're
like
right. That is
misunderstanding.
great.
Like, what are you doing? What is that? Like, we just did The Devil is a Marquis by Elisa Braden, and they had that discussion before they had sex. Like, there are ways to decrease a pregnancy, and here it is. This is what you do, but it's not 100% and stuff like that. So I love good sex conversation.
Yeah. Well, and it's so
Protection,
like
prevention.
you can see it in her too of like she doesn't want to trap him into anything. Like
Mhm.
even all the way to the end. So of course that would be important for her to ascertain that that's going to be taken care of, but also she doesn't want him to be trapped into anything, which is why
Right.
when we have, which we're going to get to in just a second, we have the bear incident and then we have survival fucking, which is some of my favorite. Some of my
Love
favorite
it.
things. Literally the bear is still in the pit right there and we're just over a boulder. Which
The
is like
dual
why it makes
bears.
it a big deal. Yes.
The pet bear versus the not really circus bear, but whatever, you
Yep.
know.
Yes, because then we have all the drama with them and everything, and then the brother. So now we're back at home. We've had survival sex. It was great. Loved it. We're like, oops, that was probably a mistake, but who cares? And then one of the lines that I like loved. So this is, I think, before Christopher gets pulled in the room, because we'll get to him for a second. But like her brothers are like, did you just sleep with my sister? And we're gonna have it out. It's gonna happen. But then Griff is like, the air practically catches fire when you're in the same room together. I'm not that surprised. And
I like
so
whenever
I
it's
love
not like
that.
the brothers are oblivious, like, oh no, you hate each other. Like, I've never expected this. I mean, Griff's just like, I kind of saw it.
Well, I
Like,
think he knew if he pointed it
doesn't
out, they'd
surprises
deny
me.
it because he did the
Yeah.
same thing. Like he didn't, like in his book, he denied that he cared about the heroin too, because Griff got married in the first one. So, you know, what good is it pointing it out? And like,
Right.
just the same way that Karis knows that like no, it's not her sister. Her brother likes the sister. Like they know, you know, they know who is with who. Oops, what was this? This just got me thinking of a very terrible movie where the heroine is stabbed and it's assumed she can't have kids. Sir, you're a cuckoo built a ship on land. That happens so often, Alana. Like it's not even funny. And like, I don't know. I like miracle babies. I do. So I don't mind when someone says like you can't have babies and then they do. But it is overused a lot in contemporary and historical.
I feel like more so for historical, I think it's easier to spot the instances where it's just kind of like science is just not up to par with like what it means to like, you know, infertility and like what's going on, because when you have the heroine who's been married for a couple of years with her husband and they haven't conceived, and she's just like, oh, it's all my fault. I've been married to him for 10 years and now she's a widow and she's like, I've never conceived. It's my fault. It's like, oh, but now you're with this new dude and you're going to conceive. You think that you're barren, but you're not, because it wasn't you. It was actually him. So it's like, I feel like that's more common in historicals just because the science wasn't there. It was always like, it's the woman's fault if you don't have boys. If you don't conceive, it's always her fault, and it's not. So, I mean,
that I recently read that in the Melanie Moreland that I really liked, Into the Storm. He was like severely beaten. And the guy was like, the doctor was like, you probably won't be able to have kids. But it's been 5 years and he's never like tried. Like he hasn't slept with anyone. He isn't like, you know. So that's part of the thing too. We're like, things do heal. Like maybe you couldn't conceive children at that time, but like things heal. It happens. But anyway, that was a side note. So then we have like the best display of manly sexiness when Christopher gets caught and dragged into the room. And he's like, don't listen to anything that they're saying. Like, they're liars, when they literally haven't said anything, like, really about him yet. And he starts throwing shade around that he's going to ruin her. And Christopher, okay, I feel like, I can't remember when it happened, man. I think this book was written before then. But this was totally a Will Smith at the Oscars moment. He's literally like, if you speak her name, I will know it's you and I will end you. He literally has a, get my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
But I love that because I feel like that, I don't know, it's just like really great, especially in historicals as well, because I feel like, especially if you're like someone who's titled and or you have lots of influence, it's like that moment where it's just kind of like, I could ruin you. Please try me and try to say something about my woman, because I will absolutely ruin you. That stuff gets me. I'm just like, say less. I love you. Please, yes. Like, do everything in your power to ruin them. I love that.
Here's a good quote right here. Her name will never pass your lips. And this is great. He growled. That's right. He's growling. If I hear even a whisper that she's not a virgin, I'll know exactly where the rumor came from. I will find you and hurt you extensively. Do you understand? There are worse things than death, you bastard. You'll be praying for it when I get through with you. And it sent a shiver up her spine. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's like that primal, like, oh my God, he will go through so much. Like, there's no amount of lengths that he will stop at from protecting her. And I love that. I love that.
Her and her brothers are kind of like just smirking about it, really, because they're just like he does say twice in a row, I don't care if she slept with the whole infantry. I was like, okay, we don't need to say. He literally says it like twice within like 2 pages.
A man who really will not give a shit.
But that's also kind of being like, it's literally saying like, I don't care if she's a slut. And I was like, I just don't like the implication at all, you know?
No, I agree. But I feel like the point is like, I don't care if she's a virgin. I don't care if she slept with anybody. Like, it literally makes no difference to me. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, she's going to be my wife. And then we have where the one potential for it to go wrong happens. But then her brother's like, I'm going to leave y'all two alone and you figure this out. We're going to step out of the room. And Tristan kind of lays it all out. She's like, you're only marrying me because I might be pregnant. And he's like, no, that literally happened like an hour ago. That's not what this is about. I just realized that I've always loved you. And she's like, well, you said you're going to marry somebody else. And he's like, I know, I lied because I was feeling feelings that I wasn't ready to say. And I just love, he just puts it all out. And then I love what she does. Like, she does not fight it that long. She's like, oh, I love you too. Like, she just like puts it out there. And I just love it so much.
I will say that I feel like the very end of it, I won't say that it felt rushed because
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't dragged out. Like, I don't want it to be dragged out, but I do feel like I mean, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at like the third act conflict because it wasn't a conflict or whatever, but it was very just kind of like, okay, we have to wrap up. Like, they haven't really expressed their feelings towards each other. And
No,
I feel
I
like
agree.
it could feel a little bit rushed. And that's pretty much where my 4.5 stars kind of fell in because they're just kind of like the tail end of it felt a little bit like boop. But I wasn't mad that it was dragged. I don't want it to be dragged out. So.
No, and like that goes back to the point of like when I was reading the arc, this scene is literally at 97%. And so I'm like, well, I know they're not going to have a third act breakup, but like that's also not enough pages left. And I don't know. So I agree with you. I think why it was like okay for me is that throughout the book, Kate placed them acknowledging that they love the other person to themselves. But like she starts thinking it around like 115 in the book. She's like, he thinks he'll be able to have sex with no feelings. Am I going to be able to do that? Because I love him. Like, am I going to be able to have sex without feelings? Probably not. But I'll have the memory.
No. Yeah.
You know? So when he lays it out and he's like, what does he say right here? I of course highlighted it here too, but he's like, I knew that I wanted to be with you. I'm jealous of everybody that you were thinking of. We find out that he'd been sabotaging, like she was getting marriage proposals, but like he was also sabotaging the other ones. Like she was saying no to some and he was sabotaging other ones. And then like she says to him, like, the day we made our pact was the best day of my life. I got everything I ever wanted. And so I was like, I'm okay with it. Like they both love each other. It's great.
No, and that's why I said, like, I just kind of like, I was like, but I was like, I'll let it slide. You know, that was my feelings towards it. It was like, it wasn't the greatest, but also I was just kind of like, I'm not mad at it either. Like it wasn't enough to be picky about it. So
yeah, I was so happy with the arc of the story. I really believed that they already had very much a foundation built to begin with. That's like such an important part for me for the kind of story that this one was. Like I believed the history. She was able to show me that like how she missed him while he was gone for war and that she hoped he would come back, and him having built this house, which would have had to have been worked on for years, like houses that took years to build. Right. And that he'd been thinking about her all this time. And so like, I believed their history. I believed the buildup for it. So when all the dominoes start knocking down, there was enough there for me to be like, I believe this.
there was
I would
the substance
always,
there, you know, I do feel like, you know, the subtlety of their feelings was there throughout the entire book. Like from the beginning, like the subtlety of their feelings was there, and that helps it too. It wasn't like it was a slow realization of, oh man, I have feelings for them. It's like they always really did have feelings for each other. So that was a strong point for me for their relationship.
Yeah. Well, he even says at the point where when he's talking to her in the carriage, so before they've made their deal, she's like, you don't want to sleep with me. And he's like, I do. I just thought you were saving yourself for your husband, so I didn't make a move. If I had known you weren't, like, I would have.
Not make a mistake. I'm attracted to you. Like, we're not going to make any bones about that. Like, I do have an attraction to you. I would have no problem sleeping with you at all.
Yeah, like, you're not doing me a favor.
Yeah.
You know, like you know, it's not like I'm doing you a favor. That's what I meant. I meant the other way. It's like, this isn't me like pretending to be too cool for it. I thought you were a virgin, so I would never like ruin you. And she's like, well, why? Like, your brothers would kill me. And also I wouldn't do that. So I love that. Tristan also tells Karis things he loves about her without realizing the word he's using. Yes. Oh, and what I was going to say about the ending. I will always take 20 more pages than what any author gives me. Like, there's never enough of an epilogue for me or enough of the, like, once we're together parts in historicals. Like, there just never is for me. I would like there to be 20 more pages of it. This one, they literally kiss on the last page, and then there's a page and a half of epilogue. That's it. And it's only a 3 month later, which I understand why. Because when you're doing a series where the next book is going to be like right after this one, you can't like skip 10 years. Although some authors will do that. They'll give you the
Who
epilogue that's
is
10
the
years
next
later,
book
but then go
about,
back.
by the
So.
way?
What?
I said, who is the next book about, by the way?
Oh, yeah. We talked about this before you're here. Reese
Okay,
and
sorry.
Francis. Yeah, Reese and
Okay.
Francis. But have you read the blurb for that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Have not. But I will.
Yeah. Because they were the ones where I was like, oh, this one's going to be, they're not antagonistic at all. Like, they're like, but looks like there will be a
No,
thing.
when I
So,
tell you that Kate Bateman has not been on my radar, I don't know why I decided to pick up this book. Like, you literally just said, like, oh man, I enjoyed that one. I was like, oh, I have not read a historical in a long
yeah.
time. I'm just gonna pick it up. And I went in so with
Yeah.
no expectations, honestly.
Yeah.
Wanted to try it
All
out. And
I saw about this one was a sex bargain. And so I was
Oh,
like,
we
oh,
love
I'll
those.
read this one.
Yeah.
Because, well, I wasn't going to ask for this arc because for Kate Bateman, I get direct download links for her. A bunch of us in this
Okay.
chat do. Like, I get direct download links for hers. And I was like, I don't want to read the next one. Oh, the cover's really pretty. And then I just saw the bargain. And I was like, done. I'm done. I'll get it. I'll read it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Because I
You
love
don't have to
sex
convince
deals.
me. Yeah.
But the thing is, too, a lot of times, like, sex deals won't actually have that much, like, sex in the books, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it'll be, and I mean, I think he even, like, the first couple times, I think he's giving her a chance to say no. That's why they only do the first couple bases to start with. Because he's like, maybe she will. Morgan and Harriet. What? Is that their names? I thought it was Reese.
We're about to
They
go
must
pull
going to
it
be
up.
book 4 then. Thank you for correcting me. I'm sorry. I just knew there was 2 that were flirting with each other. But Reese and Francis, they're going to be together too, aren't they? Oh no, Francis isn't one of them. That's her best friend. And Reese is
Ooh,
one of
I
her brothers.
love the cover for the next one too.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Well, thanks everyone for correcting me. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
More-
and Stacey, I knew what it was about. I just didn't remember their names. So this one, the next one has a map maker aspect as well. The same as like the Marquis makes his move. So that's interesting. Francis is with James at the end. Okay. See, I was just talking out of my ass. So thanks, y'all. I knew that it was the couple that I wanted to read about. That's what I knew. But yeah, her cover for that one got released like the week before this came out, which I had already read this one. And I was like, oh my God, I need it immediately. It doesn't come out till December though, but usually we get the arcs for her books like 4 months early. So I'm like, I'm ready.
I'm so excited. So recently I started requesting arcs because I don't know, I was having some FOMO. It's been a while. I haven't requested arcs
and they're
since
free.
Since
it's been like a year.
Fall. I might have not requested arcs since last fall, but I haven't had any arcs due since last fall. And I recently just like went on NetGalley and Edelweiss, and I was just kind of like, like, I have time now. And I got an influx today of like, you have been approved. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I have so many books to read right now. I have quite a few.
Well, I'm stocking it because we should, like, the do-over could go up there anytime. So I'm stocking for the do-over. And then, but then again, like, I don't have to stock for this book because, like I said, I will get a direct download. I'm just like, I want that one really bad.
I've gotten a couple direct downloads sent to me too, even though I'm like, I'm not taking arcs anymore. Not right now,
I just haven't been the past, like, well, I guess it would be since the historical romance readathon like wasn't super great for me. I haven't been in a historical mood. I mean, even Lorraine Heath wasn't able to pull me in. But like
what were you reading from Lorraine? Oh,
I'm still reading The Pleasures of a Notorious Gentleman.
Is that the arc?
What?
I'm like, what have I requested?
No,
Is that the arc for the new one?
No. Nope. That's the bright red one that doesn't come out till, well, it comes out next month, but I don't get Avon arcs. They don't give them to me.
Okay.
But no, that one's from the series with Waking Up with the Duke. And I want to read Waking Up with the Duke, so I need to read that one. And I haven't been in the mood. Like even Lorraine Heath hasn't been able to pull me in, but I read that arc that I was telling you about, the not good. Mm-hmm. And then I reread this and I was like, I want to read something. So I started A Matter of Temptation. and I read 70% of that last night. So that's
What
Stacey
does it
Reed's,
matter? Temptation. Okay.
and it's a
I was about to say,
standalone
that sounds so familiar.
that comes out the end of the month. So I'm loving that one. That has like kind of a neurodivergent hero. Like I'm kind of thinking that he is, but he's a genius type person. So
I request that.
yep, it's really good. I'm at I'm at like 75%. It's really good. She becomes his secretary. And like
kid secretary romance.
For the time that it is, there's never been a female secretary that she's heard of in this story. They're like the first one ever. But she's also like a duelist, like with a rapier.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't spoil it, but she uses it at some point, and it's really great. So anyway, well, I'm glad that you're able to join for this. Did anybody else? I know now we're just rambling. I love this. Next month, Crystal will be back. It'll be fantastic. It'll be July. It's probably going to be 100 degrees. It'll be so much fun.
100 degrees.
It's no joke.
Yep.
For Father's Day, it's supposed to be 105 degrees here, which we do not
really?
get. Yeah, we don't get that. Like, that's what's scarring about it, is like we don't get those.
Jen's like, this is not our usual.
No. We had cold weather until May, and now we have this. Next month will be The Lady Chosen by Stephanie Lawrence. This is the first one in the
I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited. I have it right. Well, it's all the way down here.
Yep.
Like, at the bottom right here. This is the whole series. I have not read any of them yet. So
yeah,
I'm very excited because I feel like since you have the first one in the series on the book club, I will probably binge them all after.
I hope.
I'm excited.
I hope that I fall back into
have
it.
them.
Her writing, like when I like.
Have you tried to read that one?
No, but I stopped in the other series though.
Okay.
I only read 5, and then like they were getting too repetitive for me.
For the Sinsters or whatever.
Yeah. They were just.
I've read like.
Literally, it was the same one each time. It was literally like, oh, I found out I inherited something. Let me go. And there's a mystery.
I also
and
read them at a different time in my reading career life. Like it was just, I had definitely less book recommendations. It was literally Juliet and I just being like, oh, I found this book the other day and let's read it together. And it was just a book club of 2. So now I have more options, I feel like, and also just more books. Like I feel like I have a lot of FOMO about like, oh, I can't binge a 14-book series anymore because there's so many other new ones coming on my radar.
Which is like totally a lie, because we'll definitely binge 14 books if we end up liking it. But I think the same thing too. I think the same thing too, because like my followers really want me to read this Charisse Sinclair series, and there's like 18 books, and they're like, the best ones are books 7, 11, and 13. And I'm like,
that's how I felt about the Cressy Cole's Immortals After Dark series. Everyone was saying, like, just wait until you get to Lothair. I'm like, great, what book is that? And I'm like, it's so far. Damn series.
My hardcover Lothair is on its way to me, and I will probably reread it the minute that I have it in my hands, because I found a perfect condition.
Have we heard anything about like a new one? I know that she
Arcane Chronicles is
Monroe,
first.
But
Arcane Chronicles is first.
Sad.
I know.
Okay, well,
I mean, then that series will be wrapped up though. Like Arcane Chronicles will be the last book in that series.
So then she'll be done.
I hope so, but we don't know. I mean, I feel like she's going to be in
After Dark. I'm like, it seems to have no end in sight at this point. So, you know,
we'll see.
There's lots to be wrapped up, which is why I'm so ravenous for it.
It'll be good. It'll be good. But yeah. But anyway, thank you for
it's a high of 78 tomorrow. I'm sorry. I just saw this high of 78. Like I wish we had a high of 78. Wow.
I mean, it's going to be 102, and then it's going to drop down to 81. So like, we're definitely probably going to get the nasty like storms that people are having, because that's usually what that means when it goes from 102.
Tomorrow, we'll see what the heat index is, because it's going to be higher than that with the humidity.
But anyway, okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this, and thank you, Jessen, for joining me through like blackouts and all this fun stuff.
I know,
and
man.
My computer dying it was just great, but
it still happened though.
Yes,
it still happened.
But we'll see ya next month. So have a good day, everybody.
Bye,
Woo!
guys.